Rain poured relentlessly over the sleepy town, blurring the edges of neon signs and puddles on the cracked asphalt. Inside, Sunflower Café, the smell of freshly brewed coffee clung to the warm air, offering refuge from the storm outside. At the counter, Emma Reynolds wiped her hands on her apron, her eyes flicking to the clock. She had barely a minute to spare before closing, yet she couldn't ignore the shivering figure outside, hunched over a broken-down car with steam rising from the hood. Most people would have ignored him. Most people had their own troubles, their own deadlines. But Emma couldn't. Something inside her refused to turn away. She grabbed her umbrella and dashed into the rain, slipping slightly on the slick sidewalk. The man looked up, startled, his eyes revealing exhaustion and worry. "Need a hand?" she asked, her voice gentle but firm. He hesitated, clearly embarrassed, then nodded. "My car, it just died. I don't know what to do." Emma smiled, kneeling beside the engine, despite knowing nothing about cars beyond a few basics. She called her cousin, a mechanic, for instructions and rolled up her sleeves. 2 hours later, soaked and shivering but smiling, the car roared to life. The man's relief was palpable. "Thank you," he said, gripping her hand. "I don't know how to repay you." Emma shrugged. "Just be kind to someone else when you can. That's payment enough." By the time she returned to the cafe, her manager, Mr. Thompson, was waiting with a stern look. "Emma, we need to talk," he said, his voice sharp. "You know we have rules. Leaving during closing time, helping strangers without permission, this isn't professional. I'm afraid I have to let you go." Her stomach dropped. She tried to explain, to reason, but he shook his head. That night, she left the cafe with a heavy heart, clutching her coat tightly against the rain, wondering if she had done the right thing. The next morning, Emma awoke to the sound of car horns blaring outside her tiny apartment. Rubbing her eyes, she peeked out the window, and froze. 50 vehicles were lined up outside, a chaotic rainbow of colors stretching down the street. Curious faces peered from the cars, some waving, some holding signs. Tentatively, she stepped outside. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice trembling. A man in a crisp suit stepped forward. It was the same driver she had helped last night. He held a megaphone. "Emma Reynolds," he called. "Everyone here has come because of your kindness. You helped me when no one else would, and I told them your story. Today, they're here to show their gratitude." One by one, neighbors, strangers, and even some of the cafe's regulars approached her, offering everything from flowers to handmade gifts, to letters of appreciation. Some had driven miles, others had spent hours preparing small tokens of thanks. Tears streamed down Emma's face as she realized the ripple effect of a single act of compassion. "It wasn't just me," she whispered, overwhelmed. I was just doing what felt right." The driver shook his head, smiling. "That's exactly why it mattered. Because it came from your heart." Among the crowd was an older couple who had recently lost their home in a flood. They handed her a small envelope. Inside were 2 tickets to a local workshop, an opportunity to start her own cafe, entirely her own, with guidance and support from the community. "We want you to succeed," they said. "You've given us hope, now let us help you." Emma's heart swelled. The fear and despair from losing her job seemed distant, almost laughable now. She realized that kindness wasn't about rules or recognition, it was about connection, about humanity. One small choice, one small action, had transformed not just her life, but the lives of dozens around her. That evening, Emma stood in front of the cafe that had fired her, smiling through tears. She waved at the crowd still lingering outside. The sky had cleared, the sun setting in shades of gold and rose. She felt lighter than she had in months, filled with a profound sense of purpose. Sometimes, doing the right thing isn't easy. Sometimes, it costs you. But Emma knew now, with absolute certainty, that kindness has a way of finding its own reward, often in ways you could never imagine. And as the community cheered and thanked her, she promised herself she would never let fear or rules stop her from helping someone in need again. In the end, Emma realized that the world was full of strangers, and that strangers, when united by compassion, could create miracles. And she smiled, knowing that her story, her simple act of humanity, had started something that would last far longer than any storm.